The Blackburn Buccaneer was designed as a pure ship hunter, but this aircraft proved its combat value in ground attack and designation roles during its service time. The Buccaneer had many fascinating features which have made it quite popular in the eyes of aviation enthusiasts. It fought in the Middle East and South Africa. Now, we are investigating the Buccaneer, one of the last purely British design aviation marvels. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel before we start, and give us a thumbs up if you like our video. To be notified of our new videos, please click the bell button. Also, you can now click the join button to support our channel. And as always, we would greatly appreciate all the likes, comments, and shares. One of the largest aircraft deployed on the British aircraft carriers, the Buccaneer was the backbone of the Fleet Air Arm Ground Strike Force, including the nuclear strike during its service time. Also, the Royal Air Force trusted it for maritime strike and low-level strike missions for a long time. After Hawker Siddeley absorbed Blackburn, its name changed to Hawker Siddeley Buccaneer. Still, everybody knows this aircraft as the Blackburn Buccaneer. The Buccaneer was an answer to the growing Soviet Navy, which was now commissioning the Sverdlov-class cruisers. These well-armed and fast ships were threatening the Atlantic sea lines. In the early 1950s, the UK decided to acquire a new strike aircraft to attack the surface targets instead of building up a new fleet. In 1952, the Royal Navy issued a detailed specification for a two-seat aircraft which would be capable of flying at 1,020 km per hour at sea level, with a combat radius of 740 km at low altitude and 1,500 km at higher cruising altitudes. It would have the capability of carrying a weapons load of 3.6 tons, including nuclear and conventional bombs, or the Green Cheese anti-ship missile. In 1955, Blackburn, which had a deep-rooted tradition of designing naval combat aircraft, won this tender. While the company's work continued, the Green Cheese project was cancelled in 1956. Due to the high secrecy of the first Cold War years, the aircraft was called BNA, which was the abbreviation of Blackburn Naval Aircraft during the development phase. Also, BANA, which came from the initials of Blackburn Advanced Naval Aircraft, was used. The later code name paved the way for leading to the nickname Banana Jet. During the development process, the staff of the Fleet Air Arm closely worked with the Blackburn engineers. The first prototype made its maiden flight on April 30, 1958. The carrier trials began in 1960 on the aircraft carrier HMS Victorious. The Buccaneer entered Royal Navy service in 1962 and replaced all Supermarine skimmers by 1969. The early model of the aircraft, the S1 variant, had a pair of 32 kN de Havilland Gyron Jr. turbojets, which were underpowered. So the Buccaneer could not take off if fully laden with both fuel and armament. The aircraft took off with fully armed but minimal fuel, and then it was refueled during the flight to overcome this problem. The low thrust-weight ratio also caused safety issues. So the Buccaneer was equipped with two Rolls-Royce Spade turbofan engines, which provided 40% more thrust and significantly lower fuel consumption. Thus, the new variant, called S2, also had an extended range. The Buccaneer S2 became the first Fleet Air Arm aircraft to make a non-stop, unrefueled crossing of the Atlantic Ocean. The engine nacelles were enlarged to locate the new engines. It also caused some minor aerodynamic modifications on the wings. All operational Fleet Air Arm Buccaneers converted to S2 variant by 1966. Some of them were modernized and redesignated as the S2D. They could carry the Martel anti-radar and Sea Eagle anti-ship missiles. The Buccaneer S50 used by the South African Air Force was an S2 variant equipped with Bristol Siddeley BS605 rocket engines, which provided additional thrust for the hot and high African airfields. But soon it was realized that these rocket engines were unnecessary and they were removed. It also had a strengthened undercarriage and higher capacity for wheel brakes. Different from the Fleet Air Arms Buccaneers with an automatic wing folding system, the S50 variant had manually folded wings. They could carry the AS-30 air-to-surface missiles. The Buccaneer S2B was the Royal Air Force variant that entered service in 1969. Actually, Blackburn had offered the aircraft to replace the Canberra in the late 1950s. But the Royal Air Force, which had sought a supersonic bomber, had not accepted the subsonic Buccaneer and decided to invest in the TSR-2 program. However, this project and its successor, the F-111K program, were cancelled. Thus, the Royal Air Force eventually had to take the Buccaneers in its service. These aircraft could carry the Martel anti-radar and Sea Eagle anti-ship missiles. After the HMS Ark Royal was decommissioned, some Buccaneer S-2s of the Fleet Air Arm were also transferred to the Air Force for the maritime strike role and renamed as S-2A. They were modernized to S-2B standards and redesignated as S-2C. The fuselage, wings, and tail units were all metal. As mentioned before, the Buccaneer was also a nuclear bomber. It could carry the 10 to 20 kiloton Redbeard bomb. So, the bottom of the early aircraft's fuselage was white to reflect the nuclear explosion flash. The Buccaneer had a revolving bomb bay, which turned about the long axis of the aircraft, exposing the weapon load mounted on what was effectively the inside of the single bomb bay door. This design allowed the bomb to be released quickly without creating a massive increase in drag at low altitudes and high speeds. The aircraft could also carry extra fuel, reconnaissance cameras, or a cargo container in its bomb bay. Thanks to the integrated flight control computer that performed auto-stabilization and autopilot functions, the Buccaneer was an easily controllable aircraft. The aircraft had a new aerodynamic control technology called boundary layer control, which improved low-speed performance. It bled high-pressure air directly from the engines, which was blown against various parts of the aircraft's wing surfaces and gave almost 50% more lift than any other contemporary designs. The boundary layer control increased the carrier takeoff and landing performance. The Buccaneer was a big aircraft, but there were limited space and small elevators on British carriers. So the Blackburn engineers preferred a foldable nose cone design to solve this problem. Also, the large tail cone could open and turn into two big air brakes, which reduced length. During the development phase, it was observed that the moving T-tail caused extreme vibration. A bullet was added to the tail's top to solve this problem. While it took off on the catapult, the Buccaneer was pulled tail down, which raised the nose level in the air. The early prototypes had a retractable in-flight refueling probe, but the Buccaneer could not catch the refueling hose because of the airflow created by the aircraft's aerodynamics. So, the production variants were equipped with a larger fixed probe. The aircraft could perform 9 hours patrols by 2 in-flight refuelings. South Africa and the United Kingdom were the users of the Buccaneer. The Buccaneer S2 had a length of 19.33 meters, a wingspan of 13.41 meters, and a height of 4.95 meters. Its wing area was 47.82 square meters. The aircraft's empty weight was about 13,600 kilograms, while its maximum takeoff weight was about 28,120 kilograms. Two 49 kilonewton Rolls-Royce Spey Mark 101 turbofan engines provided a top speed of 1,070 kilometers per hour. The aircraft had a range of 3,700 kilometers, in other words 2,000 nautical miles. It could climb to an altitude of about 12,190 meters, in other words 40,000 feet. The aircraft had 4 underwing pylon stations which could carry 5,443 kilograms of the ordnance. The capacity of the internal rotating bomb bay was 1,814 kilograms. The Buccaneer could carry the AIM-9 Sidewinder air-to-air, AS-37 Martel anti-radar, Sea Eagle anti-ship missiles, as well as different types of bombs and rocket pods. During their fleet armed service, the Buccaneers did not fight in combat. But on March 28, 1967, they bombed the shipwrecked supertanker Torrey Canyon off the western coast of Cornwall to make the oil burn. It was an attempt to avoid an environmental disaster. Also, in 1972, 4 Buccaneers which took off from the aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal positioned over 900 kilometers away from Belize deterred a possible Guatemalan invasion. 2 aircraft performed tanker duties while the others were equipped with air-to-ground munitions during this mission. The Fleet Air Arms Buccaneers constantly participated in regular patrols in the North Sea against a possible Soviet Union aggression. After 1978, the Royal Air Force took over the retired Buccaneers of the Navy and housed them at the Lossiemouth Air Base for maritime strike missions. These aircraft were also deployed to some other overseas bases from time to time. For example, the Buccaneers could control the whole North Sea from Buda, Norway. The airfields in Lissa, Norway, Aalborg, Denmark, and Lauboch, Germany were perfect to encounter the Soviet Baltic Fleet. The Buccaneers, which took off from the sovereign base areas of Akrotiri, could attack the Warsaw Pact ships near the South Black Sea and Bosphorus. The maritime strike was not the only duty of the Buccaneers of the Royal Air Force. They were deployed in Germany for low-level ground attack and nuclear strike missions in case of a possible Third World War. In 1983, while France and the USA sent their aircraft carriers to protect their troops in Lebanon, the UK deployed 6 Buccaneers to the sovereign base areas of Akrotiri for the same mission. On September 11, 1983, 2 of them flew low over Beirut as a part of Operation Pulsator. It was a show-off which bolstered the 100-strong British contingent's morale while deterring possible attacks. But the Royal Air Force's Buccaneers were baptized with fire in 1991 Gulf War. Initially, these aircraft were assigned to the target designation role. During the early stage of the war, the Royal Air Force used attack formations consisting of 4 Tornadoes and 2 Buccaneers. Each Buccaneer carried a single laser designator pod and acted as backup to the other in case of an equipment malfunction. Approximately 20 road bridges were destroyed by Buccaneer-supported missions. Later, they began to bomb airfields, bunkers, and runways. The Buccaneers also conducted many dive-bombing runs upon remaining targets of opportunity in the vicinity. On February 21, 1991, 2 of them destroyed 2 Iraqi transport aircraft on the ground of Sheikh Mazar airfield. They performed 218 combat sorties and dropped 48 laser-guided bombs. The South African Air Force had used the Buccaneers in combat long before the Brits, but their early maritime strike missions were not successful. In 1971, the South African Buccaneers launched 12 AS-30 missiles at a stricken tanker, the Wafra, but failed to sink it. But their grand attack career was legendary. In 1981, the Buccaneers destroyed several radar stations in southern Angola. Thanks to their long range and heavy load capacity, they were perfect for the grand attack and close air support roles over the overly stretched front of the Bush War. The South African Buccaneers played an essential role in the Battle of Kasinga in 1978. They repeatedly attacked enemy armored vehicles and tanks and covered the withdrawal of friendly ground forces. The Buccaneers proved their precision attack capability countless times, but they were also famous for being one of the nuclear strike elements of the South African Air Force. However, because of the UN embargo and their busy combat careers, these aircraft rapidly wore out. It reduced its operational safety. For example, a Buccaneer whose brakes failed collided with a row of Impalas in 1982. When South Africa retired the Buccaneers in 1991, only 5 aircraft had remained operational. During the 1980 Red Flag exercises, a Buccaneer of the Royal Air Force lost a wing mid-flight due to a fatigue-induced crack and crashed. After this fatal accident, the Royal Air Force grounded all Buccaneers. Then it selected 60 aircraft to be fitted with new spar rings while scrapping the others. Even though the Buccaneers were not flying, the pilots continued their training with the Hawker Hunter. After modernization, the Royal Air Force had planned to use them until the late 1990s. But despite its success in the Gulf War, this tired bird could not resist the budget cuts caused by the end of the First Cold War. The Royal Air Force retired the last of them in 1994. After the retirement, Hawker Hunter Aviation rebuilt a Buccaneer to fly in condition and took flight permission in 2006. But it was a brief happiness for aviation enthusiasts. This aircraft is no longer airworthy. The Buccaneer was one of the last examples of the purely British design and produced jet combat aircraft. It had a distinctive appearance, unique features, and a brilliant career. The Buccaneer will always have a special place in the heart of aviation enthusiasts as a true legend. Thanks for watching our video, and please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to be notified of our new videos. Also, you can now click the join button to support our channel. And as always, we would greatly appreciate all the likes, comments, and shares.